Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's so good to be here with you. I'm Jenna Layden, your host. I'm the founder of Star Family Wisdom. And today we're going to be working with some sacred geometry. We are continuing our spiritual practice series. And if I look a little stoned, it's because I've been working with sacred geometry for the last hour. And I was already doing some spiritual practice before that. And so you just add sacred geometry on top, and here I am showing up looking like this. And that might be a good disclaimer and warning for you about what we'll go through today. When we work with sacred geometry, when we connect with yantras, with these images, these blueprints, these maps of universal harmony, they have a real effect on our system. And that might evolve over time. It has for me. But just know that when you do meditate with these images, when you work with them, when you draw them, you will experience profound shifts because you are entraining your human system to that level of harmony. And also sometimes when we do that, when we are working on entraining our system back into a level of universal harmony, that means the stuff that's been living in our system that is not in alignment with universal harmony is going to have to get released and be let go of. And so sometimes we can also experience emotions, and we can experience a releasing process after we work with sacred geometry. So just a warning about that today's practice is focused on sacred geometry and working with yantras and just kind of reattuning ourselves to what is universal harmony and what does that look like and how can we achieve that in our bodies. And so you might want a little space on the backside of today's practice if you feel a little altered afterwards. If you feel like you need some just extra time to meditate and just let this work settle in your system, take that space. So if you don't have that space as you're starting to watch this, maybe pause and come back to this at a different time when you can just really let this work with your system. You could even watch this before bed and let the sacred geometry work with your system overnight. One of the things I love to do is printing sacred geometry or yantras and sleeping with them under my pillow. So I'll describe a quick experience of working with sacred geometry, again, just to give you an idea of what's possible and what you might experience before we then open sacred space and get into it together. So a couple of years ago, I was starting to explore crop circles at a deeper level, and crop circles, many of them are representative of sacred geometry and these blueprints of universal harmony. And and they can also, sometimes activate our memory and connection to star systems. Some of them have depicted star systems. So they've depicted a lot of different things that have been helpful for our human systems as we have connected with them. And so I started working with these at a deeper level. And one day I was doing a more intensive kind of exercise, meditating with them for about 45 minutes to an hour. And it was just, image after image in meditation, kind of just taking it in, letting it work with my system. I had an ET contact experience that night. And for the next couple of days, I was very altered. I was like very altered. And my system was adjusting to the frequency of this contact experience that had happened. It was adjusting to the level of harmony in the crop circle images. And so what is happening is your system is being entrained by this imagery and the symbolism, and it is helping your system come back into the level of harmony that it's supposed to have or that it could have. And so when that occurs, we can experience, these altered states for a while. We can experience ourselves needing to release a lot of old programming, beliefs, emotions that have been stored in our systems. And so this, work with sacred geometry can have a real impact on your your mind, your brain, your energy system, your body, your emotions. So just know that that is possible. Working with sacred geometry and crop circles is a good way to prepare yourself for making contact if that's something you want. And ultimately, what we're doing with making contact is just reaching higher dimensional connections with higher dimensional intelligence. We are opening ourselves to our multidimensional nature, which allows us to have a more multidimensional experience of reality, which is really cool. And that's where we're headed as humans. So sacred geometry just helps us get back in connection with all that is, with the universe at large, and all of the consciousness that is contained within the universe. And depending on our level of soul development and where we're at in our journey, we might be ready to start to have interactions or communion or connection with intelligences or beings in spirit that maybe we haven't been in connection with. Another beautiful story is another example that's not ET related or star family related, is related to our former sacred geometry instructor at Star Family Wisdom, Nadi Hana, who left Earth at the end of March. She is out there traveling the stars, which is beautiful to think about. But she held many classes in her time on Earth, and she talked about one really cool experience where a woman who had lost her husband, and this woman was longing, for a connection, and by working with sacred geometry, and I think this was the Tesseract specifically. The Tesseract is about time travel and ultimately just like helping us break through the illusion of time and space. And she was working with this geometry, and afterwards she was able to make contact with her husband. Her husband came through loud and clear, and it was just this really beautiful experience. So that's also possible too with this work. We're really just allowing our systems to rise in their frequency, in their expressions of universal harmony. And when that happens, we start to open the doors to all that is. So those are a couple of examples. Just know that this, enhances, supports any spiritual work you're doing. It enhances and supports any work we're doing around the idea of preparing for open contact with other, species in our universe. And ultimately, it just helps us remember. It helps us remember who we really are. So we'll open sacred space now, and then I'll go through a little teaching on some concepts that might be helpful in this remembering process together, and then we'll end our time with some focused meditation with sacred geometry and with those yantras that I've drawn that I want to introduce you to. Okay, so maybe just taking a moment to get still and connect with your breath, just allowing yourself to be here now fully. Just tuning in to your in-breath and your out-breath, allowing each inhale and exhale to lengthen. And maybe just setting the intention to tune into oneness today, to tune into universal harmony, and to allow this work, this time together, to move you towards a state of universal harmony. And if you're already there, allowing this work to unlock new layers of consciousness for you to explore, to to unlock new aspects of yourself, to remember, to integrate, to love. And just continuing to tune into the breath for a moment. Just allowing yourself to find that place of deep stillness. And if you're having trouble finding that stillness, just maybe noticing, what's going on in your body and maybe what's present in your mind, and not judging it, but just noticing it, saying hello to it. And maybe just setting the intention that this time together helps that shift in a way that allows you to find that stillness and that peace and that harmony. Okay. So now that we're here in that place of stillness, I'm going to sing a few opening mantras just to bring us into sacred space together in a fully protected container for the remainder of this work. So you might just keep your eyes closed, connecting with your breath, or keep them open, whatever feels right. Om. 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 Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Om Suklam Bharararam Vishnu Sachivanam Chaturmujam Prasanavaranam Jai Sarva Vignopashanti. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitu Vahenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All right. So just noticing whatever shifts are there for you. I look even more stoned now. Oh my goodness, you guys. So for those who aren't familiar with those opening mantras, the first one is a guru mantra. It connects us with the line of gurus I'm connected with all the way back to source. You can think of it as just connecting you with source, with the ultimate guru of mother, father, divine consciousness in this universe. And the second mantra is a Ganesh mantra. Ganesh is symbolic of destroyer of obstacles. And I just like to think of Ganesh as the divine love that is made manifest, that is made possible through the loving union of the mother and father intelligences. And then the last mantra is Gayatri mantra, which you might be familiar with. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then we're going to get started here. So this is centered on sacred geometry today, but we're going to start with discussing toroidal flow, triptych symbology, and then we'll get into the way universal harmony is depicted in sacred geometry. And I wanted to start by just reminding us of where are we at in our human experience on Earth. We are part of a much larger cycle on Earth. This is not something we're going to spend a ton of time on today, but you can learn about this by Googling the cycle of the yugas and and gaining a better understanding of these larger time cycles that we are a part of. And we hear a lot of things about the golden era and the times on Earth that once were golden eras. And on Earth, because of our positioning and because of the slight tilt of the Earth's axis and how that creates a wobble effect as we rotate, that means that we actually are pointed away from the galactic center for a good period of time on Earth. Every 24 to 26,000 years, we are going through what is called the precession of the equinoxes. That is the rotation of the constellations in the night sky. We see that rotation because of this wobble and this rotation of the Earth. And we can track this 24, 26,000 year cycle based on that rotation of the constellations. The ancients knew this, the ancients followed this. And much of the spiritual wisdom that we can connect with on Earth stems from the last golden era and prior. So humans went through a major catastrophe around this time, around let's call it, 10,500 BC, somewhere in there. And that was the Great Flood. And so humans then were also going into a period of this cycle where we were going to be experiencing contracting consciousness for a very long time, for thousands of years, which leads us right into our dark ages, which we are just now coming out of. So I think this is just really good, helpful context. Anytime we're discussing ancient wisdom, anytime we're discussing what prior civilizations may have known, it's just helpful to have this perspective that we've gone through what has been, about 10,000 years of descending, contracting consciousness. But the good news is we're coming out of that and we're now on the upward swing. But, it's also a long time till we get back to a true golden era where humans are in their, highest level of spiritual power and highest level of ability in their creative abilities. And so we're I think in a place where we're remembering so much, and it's also so easy to get these grandiose ideas of immediately shifting into a golden age, tomorrow, sort of thing. And we've got work to do. We've got evolution ahead of us, and that's a beautiful thing. We can make big quantum leaps. We can make big quantum leaps as humans, but we also have a ways to go, and it's part of our work here as humans who are remembering, as humans who are coming back into their universal harmony, to help humanity make that quantum leap out of this transition from our dark ages. So we'll start by talking about the toroidal field of the universe. So energy flows through this universe with a spin and with a type of flow called toroidal flow. That representation of flow, of energy that emanates from the one and spins through the universe and then returns to the one ultimately, is also the same way energy flows in our field. So you can think of toroidal flow as this self-organizing system that is moving energy in what is an ascending and descending kind of spiraling pattern in our universe. And so I think it's helpful to understand this concept, and even imagine, even visualize that flow of energy, that constant spin of energy, because we are in a universe of constant motion. In this physical experience of reality, we are experiencing constant motion. We can also experience stillness in motion. But when we start to understand that flow of energy, we can also start to understand the geometrical designs that present themselves through that flow of energy. And Walter Russell and his research back in, I think, the early 1900s, he talked about the one, and how all energy must emanate from the one and return to the one. And that's what we're doing here in this grand experience of life. Through all of these lifetimes, we are in this process of working our way through that toroidal flow of energy in the universe, through all of our life experiences, working our way back up that spiral, all the way back to the one. And I love this quote by Walter Russell: where there is love, there is also unity. Because love is the primary organizing principle of the universe. This image represents the golden ratio. You might already be familiar with this, that the golden ratio is found throughout nature. We see it in spiral galaxies, we see it in seashells, we see it in how plants grow, we see it in trees, we see it in the human body, we see it in the geometrical and harmonious design of the human body. And I've found it so interesting to reflect on how these ancient civilizations around the world understood this. They understood the flow of energy in our universe. They understood that galaxies, most of them are spiral galaxies. They understood that we are always on this journey of returning to the one, and ultimately remembering ourselves as the one. You might even consider getting a pie stone for your spiritual practice. If you are an energy practitioner, if you work with the world of energy a lot in your spiritual practice, working with a pie stone can be really effective and really helpful for moving energy. It's representative of that toroidal flow. It's representative of the energy emanating from the one and moving through that 0 point of creation, or the Nada Bindu point, whatever you want to call it, and into the physical. And now focusing on the flower of life, remembering that this is representative of the interconnectedness between all things in our universe. It is a pattern that has been found throughout the world at ancient sites. In particular, I love that the Fu dogs in China hold the flower of life design under their paws. It's actually thought that, Chinese architecture, most of the architecture in our world holds hidden clues about our past, and can help us remember what our ancient civilizations knew and what they were holding, and through this eras of darkness that we went through, we lost a lot of that, or it kind of got hidden, and now it's coming out of hiding, and we can work with it in new ways. And so this is representative of life, of how life splits from the one into two, into four, into six, and how we continue to experience that pattern of creation throughout the universe. Triptych patterns have been found all over the world. You may have seen this imagery on social media before, that this triptych pattern is not just a fun design, but it's actually representative of the balancing of opposites, or bringing opposing dual consciousness into balance, into harmony. It can be representative of bringing the opposing dark and light, positive and negative, masculine and feminine, all of these opposing forces, all of these opposites in our universe, bringing them into balance and harmony. And when that harmony has been achieved, then we can really start to awaken the consciousness that is the universal consciousness within us. So we find this, not just in Egypt, we find it in China, we find it in Cambodia, we find it in Mexico, we find it in the cathedrals and temples of Europe. We find it all over the world because our ancient civilizations understood the concept of universal harmony. Our ancient civilizations were taught by star beings about universal harmony. All right, well, take some time here now to just begin meditating together, eyes open. And what you see here is just that visual representation of the balancing of opposites, recognizing that we live in a universe of duality, recognizing that duality shows up in many ways, and just remembering that we have the capacity, we have the ability to see the positive and to see the negative, to engage with it, but to then find our way back to center, to neutrality. And then again, remembering that those opposites show up in our masculine and feminine expression of energy. And remembering that we are both. And remembering that when we bring that feminine and masculine expression into balance, when we embrace both sides of ourselves, when we embrace both qualities, all of the qualities that come from the masculine and feminine, and when we work to bring them together in harmony, we then are operating in a state of unity. So maybe just setting the intention that this imagery helps bring that balance into being for you. And now we'll expand this out to some images that represent a larger perspective of universal harmony. And this is an activation for you. This is a Lakshmi Yantra. This is a yantra that depicts the beautiful, abundant, divine feminine aspect of the universe. Lakshmi is the beautiful, abundant aspect of the Divine Mother, one of her many aspects. And the mantra that is depicted here is Om Aim Klim Shrim, Om Mahalakshmi Aina Namaha. That is a mantra for Lakshmi, for beauty, abundance, harmony. These are 9 concentric circles. You might even think of these 9 circles as representative of the 9 spheres of the heavens, the 9 planets of our solar system that bring perfect balance and harmony to our lives here in the physical, representative of those archetypal forces of creation, archetypal consciousness that we can work with in our lives to return to harmony, to create with the universe. And I share this with you today because I drew this and wrote the words at the bottom of this yantra at a time when I was working through changing beliefs and ideas about struggle, that didn't need to live within me anymore, that illusion of reality did not need to be my illusion anymore. And I want to support you in breaking through that illusion as well. So what is written here is, and you might set an intention for this to be an affirmation for you. You can continue working with this affirmation and this yantra. The illusion of struggle is now broken and dissolved. My illusion of reality is easeful, graceful, and infinitely abundant. So if you would like that to be true for you too, make it so now. Knowing that we're here to choose, we're here to observe it all from a place of non-judgment and to choose. We're here to choose what is right for us and what illusions maybe don't need to be part of our experience anymore. So maybe just taking a moment here, I'm going to say the mantra again 9 times before we move on. Om Aim Klim Shrim Om Mahalakshmi Ana Namaha. 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 So be it. And now the next yantra we'll look at together is known as the JC yantra in the lineage of Swami Sri Kaleshwar from India. I know this yantra as a yantra of universal harmony. This is a yantra that depicts life and death. This is a yantra that depicts form in its bound state. It depicts our souls in their boundless state. It depicts the angelic orders of this universe that support us in our creative abilities. It depicts the balancing of masculine and feminine energies. It depicts the flow of universal consciousness from the one into the many. And you see the 9 concentric rings, or the 9 rings around this yantra as well. And then the petals, the outer ring in yellow for total illumination. So as you look at this yantra, noticing it's a little imperfect because it was drawn by an imperfect human. Just honoring that, just noticing how this feels. Allowing this to inform your experience of universal harmony, your experience of coming back into your divine order, which is your ability to be who you really are in this life. Knowing that as an expression of universal harmony, it also depicts unconditional love for the all that is. And when we are in that state, we've entered the kingdom of heaven. So I'm going to say that the 2 mantras that are here on the sides as you continue looking at this. You can close your eyes if that feels better. And I'm just going to say each of these 3 times. Ananta Atmarupa, Atita Shakti Agoradata Shivam. Ananta Atmarupa, Atita Shakti Agoradata Shivam. Ananta Atmarupa, Atita Shakti Agoradata Shivam. So just taking a moment to just breathe this in. Knowing that we're here to let go of the last few eras of humanity and all that brought into our life experience now. We're here to honor it. And we're here to return to universal harmony. We're here to return to our fullest expression of unconditional love for each other, for all that is, for those opposing polarities. Seeing it all, experiencing it all, playing in it all, but finding our way back to center. So just taking a deep breath in now, and a big exhale out. Just letting go of whatever might be rising in your system. Another deep breath in. And a big deep breath out. And one more time. And a big exhale. And here's that yantra again in a different format in what is known as the Sri Yantra, which is more commonly known. Again, that representation of the feminine with the upward facing triangles and the representation of the masculine with the downward facing triangles, and that Nada Bindu point of center, of perfect harmony, of perfect balance. So I invite you to continue staring at this, being with this yantra, while I bring us into our closing mantra, and we'll wrap up our time together. Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Heaven on earth is embodied now. Heaven on earth is embodied now. Heaven on earth is embodied now. Thank you for being with me today, and I'll see y'all again in our next video. Bye for now.